My grandmother, who used to detest my husband so much, wanted to see him. Really? I was questioning my mother's words when I got an email from my husband. Don't tell the old lady I was here. If you do, it's divorce between Michelle and me. If she saw this, who knows what my grandmother would say. With a heavy heart, I went to my grandmother's room. So he left, huh? I knew it, but what a pitiful man. Hey, Grandma, did you really want to see Ryan? Yes, I know everything about the reason why he came here too. Reason? Grandma seemed to know something. And then, with sharp eyes, my bedridden grandmother looked at me, who was home for childbirth. Don't go back after giving birth. What do you mean? Make sure you keep what I just said. Got it? Overwhelmed by my grandmother's intensity, all I could do was nod. Right after that, my grandmother slowly began to speak the reason. No way! Shocked by the truth revealed by my grandmother, I hurriedly called the police. Then, seeing this, my grandmother told me to wait. Wait a sec. Hand me that phone. My name is Michelle, and I'm a 36-year-old housewife. My husband, Ryan, is 3 years younger than me, at 33. Time flies, we've been married for 3 years now. He joined his current company a year after me. With his bright and friendly personality, Ryan quickly became the most popular guy at work. Dedicated to his job, he was the only one who dared to strike up a conversation with me, who everyone else was too intimidated to approach. Falling for him was the most natural thing in the world, and before I knew it, we were dating. His presence was just that comforting. 2 years later, he proposed. Michelle, I swear I'll make you happy, so will you marry me? It was a perfectly ordinary proposal. But to me, those words were more beautiful than any other proposal could be. You promise? You'll definitely make me happy? Leave it to me. Our married life has been bliss. Ryan always tells me he loves me, and I always tell him I love him back. I thought I'd be living alone. I'm truly grateful to the prince who appeared before me. And then, we were blessed with the news that we were going to have a child. As time passed, I found myself nearing childbirth, on maternity leave from work, spending my days resting at home. Lately, Ryan's been coming home late because of work. Having worked at the same company, I understand how busy it can get. But being so busy that he comes home after midnight? That's unheard of. The reason he's late is because he goes out for drinks or to hang out after work. Ryan thinks socializing with his boss and colleagues is more important than work itself. Especially when it comes to hanging out. Of course, I'm not saying that's bad. I knew that losing his freedom to marriage would be the biggest stress for my husband, who had enjoyed his bachelor life. So, I don't say anything even if he comes home late. I know going out is his way of relieving stress. I had been tolerating it for his sake. But now, things are different. I'm pregnant. Being pregnant for the first time is full of anxieties, and being alone really takes its toll on me. I should tell him, shouldn't I? I'll say it today. I can't take it anymore. He goes out drinking and hanging out every day after work, coming home at 1 a.m. at the earliest. Normally, it's 3 a.m. That's just not right, no matter how you look at it. And today was no different. It's well past the time I'd usually be asleep. Struggling to keep my sleepy eyes open, I waited for Ryan to come home. Then, I heard the sound of the front door opening. Welcome home. You're late. Whoa! You scared me! Were you awake, Michelle? If you're gonna wait up, you should have texted me. It's startling otherwise. Sorry for scaring you. I'm beat. Having to entertain the boss until this hour is just hell. Hell, huh? I feel the same. If it's hell, why go? Just say your wife is pregnant and they'll let you come home. No way, no way. That boss doesn't have an ounce of kindness in him. It's useless to even say. I knew he would say that. Even if I tell Ryan I want him to come home early, he'll just say it's impossible. Used to his usual responses, I let out a light sigh, which Ryan didn't miss and moved a bit closer to me.
What was that sigh for? Huh? Don't say hummy. You just sighed while looking at me.
His face, usually familiar with smiles, was now filled with anger. What's gotten into him? Did my sigh upset him that much? I should apologize. That's when I was about to speak.
Don't think just because you're pregnant, you'll be treated with kid gloves. I'm out here busting my butt every day for our living. Not like you, lounging around all day. And then you have the nerve to ask me to come home early, just for your convenience? And if I say no, you sigh and treat me with disrespect?
I was at a loss for words. It was the first time he'd ever spoken to me like that, and his tone was so harsh I could sense his intense anger. I'd never seen this side of him before. It sent shivers down my spine. Then, without saying a word to me, frozen in fear, he clicked his tongue and went to take a shower. After he left, my legs suddenly gave way, and I found myself collapsing to the floor. The next morning, when I woke up, he had already gone to work. I couldn't shake off what had happened last night. I was shocked to have seen such a side of my husband. Then my phone rang. It was my mom.
Hello? Michelle, are you doing okay? I'm fine. But why the sudden call?
Hearing my mom's voice after so long made me tear up. She didn't notice, though.
Your grandma said if you're going to give birth, you should come back here. You mean, have a hometown childbirth? That would be okay, but I wonder if Ryan would agree. Why not? Ryan would say it's okay, wouldn't he?
Normally, Ryan would agree without hesitation. But given his mood yesterday, I wasn't sure.
All right. I'll ask him. I think it might be better to give birth there, too. Then, I'll tell Grandma that.
I emailed Ryan during his lunch break to tell him that Grandma said I should have the baby back home. He replied with a simple okay. I was bracing for opposition, given last night's exchange, so his unexpected response left me puzzled. But what really bothered me was the brevity of his email. He'd never just sent one-word replies before. Feeling the distance between us, I returned home that same day. Waiting for me at home were my kind mother and my bedridden but stern grandmother. My mother was happy to see me, but my grandmother had harsh words for me.
So you've finally come back. I wondered when you'd leave that no-good husband of yours.
She was referring to Ryan. When he had first visited my family, he had faced my grandmother's severe judgment. She had greeted him with harsh words.
Can you really make Michelle happy?
I don't see it.
Grandma, please! Humph. I thought you had better judgment in men, but it seems I was mistaken. I should have taught you that those who only show a good front are the least trustworthy.
Neither my mother nor I could make her mind her manners, but my grandmother didn't seem to care. On the other hand, Ryan, completely intimidated by her words, didn't speak for the rest of the visit and just left after greeting. On the way home, he talked nonstop about her.
Hey, isn't your grandma seriously scary? I'm starting to worry about the future.
I'm sorry.
Grandma has always been like that. I'll tell her to be nicer next time we see her.
Please do.
Becoming family with someone like that is pure torture. She's like a demon grandma.
Calling my grandmother a demon grandma. But I could understand where he was coming from. Thinking about dealing with my grandmother from now on, it surely felt like torture. After that, Ryan stopped visiting my family home. Even for New Year's or Thanksgiving, he'd find excuses not to go. So, I ended up going back alone every time. Each time, my grandmother would say, "That no-good husband of yours didn't come again?" Pathetic. To be scared off by an old lady over 80. Looking back, those moments feel nostalgic now.
Michelle, what are you zoning out for? Nothing. Just lost in some memories, that's all.
Life at my parents' house is easier than when I'm with my husband. My mom does all the housework. I spend my days chatting with my grandma about this and that, and resting whenever I feel tired. I'm really pampered here. Feeling guilty, I try to help, but then I get an earful from my grandma.
Michelle, you're pregnant, you shouldn't be doing any of that. You need to take care of yourself first and foremost.
She might be right, but I can't help feeling bad relying so much on my mom, who's also caring for my grandma. However, both my mom and grandma insist, so I end up following their advice. Then, a week later, something surprising happened.
Hey! You doing all right? Ryan! What? Why are you here? What, can't I come to pick up you?
Ryan actually came to pick me up. Even though he had refused to come to my parents' house so adamantly. The sight of my husband standing before me was so unbelievable, I couldn't hide my confusion.
What's with that look? Did you not want to see me? It's not that, but...
Well, whatever.
I came all this way, to the middle of nowhere, to talk to you.
Saying that, Ryan gestured for me to come outside with him. Feeling a bit off about his way of speaking, but still following him outside. I wondered if this was something he couldn't say over the phone or email.
Man, this place is really the sticks. I can't imagine living here. It's definitely not for a city guy like me. Did you come here just to say that?
I replied calmly, despite feeling irritated by his behavior.
Anyway, on to the main topic. You're coming back right after the baby is born, right? I can't come back right away. I'm having the baby here, I've already booked the maternity clinic, and I'll need to keep coming here for a while. It'd take over 2 hours to travel from there to here. Right. Then, I guess it can't be helped.
I was confused about what he was trying to say.
What? I don't get what you're trying to say.
No, it's just... I've been really tired from work and socializing. I've taken it out on you, and I'm sorry for that. Sorry, Michelle.
You came all this way to say that? Well, that, and I really want you to come back soon. I'm happy about the baby. So, I'll be waiting for you to come back.
I was bracing myself for something harsh, but his kind words caught me off guard.
That's all for today. Good luck with the birth. Yeah, thanks.
With that, Ryan left. I watched him walk away. I was feeling a mix of emotions. When I went back inside, my mom, who had been with my grandma, was at the entrance.
Did Ryan leave? Yeah. Oh, that's too bad. Your grandma really wanted to see him.
My grandma, who hated Ryan, wanted to see him? Really? I was pondering my mom's words when I got an email from Ryan.
Don't tell the old lady I was here.
If you do, it's divorce between you and me. If she found out, I didn't know what my grandma would say. With a heavy heart, I went to my grandma's room.
He really did go back, huh? I knew it, but what a pathetic man. Hey Grandma, is it true you wanted to see Ryan? Yes, it's true. I know everything about why he came here.
Reason? It sounded like Grandma knew something. And then, to me, who was back in town for childbirth, my bedridden grandmother looked at me with sharp eyes and said,
"Don't you dare go back after giving birth." Huh? What do you mean? Make sure you follow what I just said. Got it?
Overwhelmed by Grandma's intensity, all I could do was nod. Right after that, Grandma slowly began to explain the reason.
No way!
I was chilled to the bone by the truth Grandma revealed, and I rushed to call the police. Then, seeing that, Grandma told me to wait and handed her the phone.
Just a moment. Give that phone to me.
When I handed my cell phone to Grandma, she started talking to the police officer on the other end, pretending to be me. As I stood there, dumbfounded, my mom came up from behind and assured me it was going to be okay. After ending the call, Grandma looked at me and said, "Listen, in a week, you're going to contact that no good and tell him this." Grandma whispered something in my ear.
But... You heard what I said earlier, right? That guy, he's the kind of man who would drag my precious granddaughter through hell. So, why don't we give him a taste of his own medicine?
At that moment, Grandma seemed as excited as a child.
Got it. In a week, right? I'll do exactly as you say.
And the promised week was up. I tried calling my husband, but he didn't pick up, maybe because he was at work. I hung up and decided to try again after some time had passed.
Maybe it's a good time now.
I called again, but still no answer. Reluctantly, I was about to put my phone down on the table. Then, my husband called back.
You've been persistent. Don't you know I'm busy with work? Call me back later. You're at work? I'm hanging up.
I hurriedly stopped my husband from hanging up.
Wait. I have something important to tell you. Important? Grandma is unconscious. She might be, so you need to come here right now, Ryan. What? Seriously? Okay, I'm on my way.
I breathed a sigh of relief that I had gotten through to my husband. Now, all I had to do was wait for him to arrive. 4 hours passed, but my husband still hadn't arrived. He had said he would come right over when I told him about Grandma's condition during his lunch break. It's about a 2-hour drive from his workplace to my parents' house. Especially since I called him during his lunch break. No matter how busy his company gets, they have to take breaks at set times. They're really strict about it. So, he really should have been here by now. The fact that he wasn't meant that what Grandma had said was true. As I waited and waited for my husband to arrive, another hour went by. Sitting quietly beside my sleeping grandmother, I suddenly heard the front door open and footsteps hurrying toward us.
Michelle!
Ryan. No way. Seriously? My husband came to my grandmother's side. As he held her hand, he seemed to be grieving, covering his face with one hand, but the corners of his mouth were turned up in a smirk. It must have been a happy moment for him, hating Grandma as he did. Normally, I would never forgive my husband for looking happy in such a situation. So why don't I say anything? Because it's like this. Grandma. I moved to Grandma's side, avoiding my husband, and the moment I took her hand.
It's you? Yeah.
My husband's scream made both me and my mom burst into laughter. Completely dazed, he had no idea what had just happened.
My grandma isn't going to pass away that easily. Don't you dare send me off to the other side without my say.
The whole story about Grandma losing consciousness was a bold-faced lie. It was all a plan Grandma had devised to get my husband here. And my mom and I were in on it. Otherwise, he would never come back to his parents' house on his own. Everything was done to get him to confess what he had done. Are you okay? I asked my still dazed husband, who snapped back to reality and looked at me.
You tricked me.
Grandma lashed out at him. The only one tricking anyone here is you.
I didn't. Don't lie. We know everything you did.
My mom and I glared at him sternly.
What's with that face? If you have something to say, just say it.
With that invitation, there was no need to hold back. Calmly, yet with anger in my voice, I said.
So, how does it feel to know you have 2 kids? Well, one of them is with your mistress. What? Not what? How can you pretend you don't know? I can't believe you were out having fun with another woman while I was struggling with my pregnancy. How did you know about that?
Surprised, he asked how I knew. Then, Grandma slowly began to speak, revealing the reason. Grandma has always had a stronger intuition than most people. She predicted accidents in the neighborhood, my mom getting pregnant with me, and even my marriage, all before any of it happened. And she said that before I even introduced him to her. When she first met him, she felt something was off and became wary.
Be careful. He will definitely drag you down to hell. It may be fine now, but when the time comes, I'll be there to save Michelle.
Time passed, and although I had forgotten Grandma's words, she remembered. This is it. I had a detective friend look into it. She handed me several photos. They were evidence of my husband's affair and pictures of the same woman, clearly pregnant. The mistress, upon getting pregnant, pressured my husband into marriage, to which he readily agreed. Or rather, had no choice but to agree, as he had lied to her about being single. What started as a fling became a trap when she got pregnant and introduced him to her family, leaving him no way out. In the end, my husband chose his younger, cuter mistress over me. That made me and our son an inconvenience. The plan was to erase us from this world. He waited until I gave birth and returned home to erase us, so he could do it without anyone noticing. He would then inherit the insurance money and could easily remarry his mistress, ensuring a comfortable life thereafter. He had thought so. It was all for his own selfish desires. Exposed under the harsh light, my husband was completely lost for words.
You've got something to say, huh? But with things laid out like this, guess you can't say anything, can you? But this isn't the end, you know? Don't think for a minute that what you tried to do is forgivable just because of this. Right, Grandma? That's right. We can't let a man like this go just because of this. I, for one, can't stand to see such awful men not suffer to the fullest. My husband up in heaven would definitely not forgive someone who torments our precious granddaughter.
Hearing Grandma's words, my husband's face turned pale in an instant. Then, as if to pile on, I presented him with a gift-id divorce papers.
As you can see, my name is already filled in. All you have to do is sign your name here. Don't worry, I'll handle submitting them.
By this point, he must have realized there was no escape. And he nodded silently.
And, as you might expect, I'll be demanding a hefty alimony after the divorce. Naturally, since you were planning on doing away with me and our son, the amount will be substantial. I've left everything else to the lawyer, so from now on, you'll go through them.
Just when I thought it was all over, Grandma said there was still something missing.
Michelle, isn't there something else you're forgetting? Something else? My goodness. What a hopeless granddaughter. It's the division of assets. Normally, assets would be split evenly between a married couple, but you won't be getting a penny, so prepare yourself for that.
Trust Grandma to think of everything. I knew about the alimony, but I'd completely forgotten about the division of assets. Just when I thought it was finally over.
Come on, alimony is one thing, but why do I have to give up the division of assets to you? That's just crazy. There's no way I'd agree to that.
Suddenly, my husband came back to life and lunged at me. His face was red like a demon's, his eyes bloodshot, completely out of his mind. As I stepped back in fear, I stumbled and fell over Grandma's bed.
Ah! Arg! Michelle! Stop it!
Shouts and screams echoed throughout the house. Then, as my husband towered over me, ready to swing his right arm.
Help!
In that moment, my husband was pulled away from me. And with a command to stay still, he was restrained by several police officers.
What the hell? Let go. Stay still. The police?
I watched, dumbfounded.
We made it just in time. Good thing we took extra precautions. Grandma called for you? I figured something like this might happen. I had already asked the police to be on standby.
I was astonished. Grandma's intuition was something to behold. Thanks to her, I was saved.
Let me go! Don't touch me!
Despite being fully restrained, my husband kept resisting desperately.
What an ugly sight. A man who can't admit his faults and only knows how to rage and scream. Yeah.
The exchange between the police officers and my husband continued for about an hour. The commotion attracted neighbors, curious about what was happening. And soon, our house was surrounded by people from the neighborhood.
Looks like quite the event. Feels like we're celebrities.
Mom, don't worry. We are not. Eventually, my husband was exhausted and taken away by the police. The onlookers soon dispersed.
It's finally over. Never thought I'd go through something like this at my age. It's amazing what life can throw at you.
At that moment, peace returned to our home. Later, my ex-husband was sentenced to 15 years in prison. According to the lawyer, the mistress had broken up with him. A predictable outcome, considering their children's futures. And so, I demanded alimony and child support from my ex-husband. The mistress apparently did the same for their divorce and child support. Even after serving his sentence, my ex-husband wouldn't be able to lead a normal life, the lawyer said. He had reaped what he sowed. As for me, I moved back home, living with my mother and grandmother. 2 weeks later.
He's adorable.
Please don't hold him so recklessly. Do I look that clumsy to you?
Both of you, wait. It's time for his milk, so hold him afterwards.
A new family member has been added, and now, we're a family of 4 living together. I hope this child grows up to be kind and considerate, and as a mother, I hope to grow stronger alongside him.